Noble Cause podcast is an expression of life's learnings. I'll be your host, Michelle Cardocas Harrison, and I invite you to connect with me as we explore a plethora of interesting subjects, such as psychology, stoicism, physics, alchemy, health, fitness, and practical tools for the seeking mind, body, and soul. Join me and other special guests on this journey to educate, to inspire, to encourage, and to turn any experience into a noble cause. We're in the mainframe, man. All right. Hello, my people. Thanks for tuning in to the Noble Cause podcast. I have my buddy, Thomas Lindsay, here. Thomas and I met through CrossFit Cortez. So he is also a CrossFit coach. It was kind of cool. Earlier today, we did an intro class where we have other people from the community or people that are looking into start CrossFit. They come into our gym and we get to do like the whole methodology and break down the fundamental moves of CrossFit and give them an idea of how our classes are structured and everything. So it's a really cool thing. We get to like play off of each other as coaches. We're all pretty close over at CrossFit Cortez. So we did that earlier today, and it's like, hey, you want to record later if we don't have anything to do? So we've been trying to match up to be able to do this. So one of the reasons why I invited Thomas to come and talk to us is Thomas is into mixed martial arts, and he also is a local EMS and firefighter, and just an all-around great dude, Thomas. So thanks for joining me. I'm excited about this one. So if you want to take just a second, I'll put that sucker a little bit closer to you.
There we go.
If you want to introduce yourself or just kind of give like your background about all the different things that you do and whatnot.
Yeah, so I've been doing mixed martial arts. I started in karate when I was 8 years old. Worked my way up. Did 7 years of capoeira, 10 years of Brazilian jiu-jitsu, a year of fencing, 2 years of aikido, a little bit of judo, a little bit of kung fu, a little bit of everything. Moved around a lot. So when you move around, you got to start over in another martial arts academy, find a new one. Anything you do. I did 4 years of boxing as well.
Nice.
So I actually have a 3-1 amateur boxing record, and then I'm 0-1 as an amateur in the cage.
Nice.
So yeah,
you're a good person to keep around, then. Huh? You also do. I know that we did a little bit of the Highland Games this summer, right? Like
yes.
You're all into. Thomas is always out there in the kilt doing those crazy things,
tossing the caber and the weight over the bar, and
yeah, that stuff's badass. It's freaking cool.
Yep. I like anything that's a challenge. Anything that's physical is a challenge. I just like to give it a whirl.
Right on. Way to be.
Yeah.
So you said a couple, like, I'm not super familiar with a lot of the martial arts, so what is
Capoeira. So capoeira is one of my favorites. It's a Brazilian martial art. It's actually like a Brazilian dance martial art. Everything is to a rhythm. And so there's a lot of kicking involved, but you're basically dancing to a rhythm, and then you're throwing kicks and dodging. There's no blocking or anything like that. It's all dodge, so you continue this flow.
That's cool.
So it's actually, it's the way we train is it's actually 2-on-2. You're constantly taking somebody on in what's called the roda. And so there's like usually somebody with a drum, a broom bow, and there's music going. And so, two people come in, it's like a dance. Two people will just kind of move the people out of the way, and they'll go, okay, we're going to go now. And so then you just kind of, you do your ginga, and then you throw a bunch of, different types of kicks, and you're just moving around, dodging each other.
That's cool.
It's a very fun martial art. That was one of my favorites.
How long does it take you to learn to do something like that?
Learning the basics of the ginga is not complicated at all. Once you start getting into advanced moves, like there's a lot of acrobatics that go involved that can take many years to learn. It's actually, capoeira is one of my, because I love the history of it. It was actually a banned martial art. They banned it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was designed by Brazilian black slaves. And so they were doing this not knowing that they were training for a martial art, and they pretty much took over. They pretty much destroyed their owners and everything like that, so they outlawed the martial art.
Wow.
So you've seen, my email. It says Dunga.
Yeah, that was one of my questions. Your nickname, right?
Nickname. So it's everybody gets a nickname, so that way nobody knows who really anybody is. I've got several guys that I know back in Florida where I took capoeira that I don't know their real name. We just all had these nicknames that we went by, and is usually Portuguese nicknames.
That's
so that's cool. The Dunga is actually short for dopey because I have big ears. And I used to shave my head when I was in capoeira.
That's really cool.
So yeah.
So was it something that was still done like in secrecy?
Yeah. So they still did it for a long time in secrecy. You were able to start doing it publicly around like the 1970s.
Wow.
Is when I'm pretty sure on the history, you could start doing it publicly. It was very recent. And so that's when everybody started coming out, started opening, gyms and everything. So, we had a couple of big groups in Florida. It's a very popular area for Brazilians to come and open up dojos. So I still keep in track with all my instructors down there and everything.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Very cool. So out of all the different mixed martial arts that you do, which one would you say like is your favorite or the one that you enjoy the most?
Enjoy the most? I'm a big, I love capoeira, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I love Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Some of them, I'm not a huge fan of boxing. It wasn't one of my big ones. Neither, fencing was okay. Not a huge fan, but, I kind of just stuck with them. They were like, this is where I'm at. I enjoyed doing karate and aikido, but yeah, I would have to say, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and capoeira were my favorite.
And how are you able to keep up with it and train being out here in the middle of nowhere? Is there people or there resources for you? There
is. I try to catch, there's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gym and a martial arts gym in Durango.
Oh, cool.
So I try to catch them about once or twice a week.
Oh, nice.
So,
man.
Yeah, I'm still doing it.
Yeah,
still going it. Even with
secrets.
I like... Yeah, so that's where I go, and what's really funny is I'll go there even after I've done CrossFit.
Nice.
So I get pretty much thrown all over the map, but it's a lot of fun.
There you go. That's awesome. So I want to I want to ask you a couple more questions about all that and get into some other things, but I did want to start off with 3 questions that I ask everybody for my interviews, and we can go through these one by one too. So, 3 different things, if you could tell me. The first thing being, what is one thing that you love to do? The second being, what is one thing that you love about life? And the third being, what is one thing that you love about yourself? So the first one is one thing that you love to do. One
thing that I love to do, work out. Freaking CrossFit or martial arts. It's, that's a passion of mine. Is to stay fit. I love it. But yeah, other than that, it's hunting. Getting out there. I like to go archery hunting. It's usually fall. That's what I'm doing.
That's very cool. I know this is the dude that brings antelope enchiladas to.
Yes, I did.
I never had an antelope enchiladas before.
Oh, they were amazing too.
Yeah,
the Christmas party. Yes, I did.
Nice. So, one thing that you love about life.
One thing I love about life is it's ever changing. There's it can change the drop of a hat, and it's ever changing. It's coming from a military brat, just moving around a lot. I know how fast life can change. And it's ever changing, and the only thing you can do is just flow with it.
Yeah, flow. I know a lot about that. I've learned a lot about that, I should say.
Yeah.
All right, and one thing that you love about yourself.
Oh, that's a tricky one.
I know. We don't think about this enough, but I think we do. We need to,
I know. Oh, gosh. One thing I love about myself is the fact that I just give a damn. It's hard, being around the world and everything like that. You meet a lot of people who just don't, and it's, the fact that you can actually say that I give a damn, about everything in general, people, the earth, everything, it's...
Yeah, that shows, too, like me working with you for sure, like as a coach. I need to turn that fucking thing. Buzz. Yeah, I could definitely attest to that, working with you as a coach, that you definitely have a big heart. So, and it shows and it goes a long ways, especially with like what we do, whenever not only are we training and challenging ourselves, but we're also leading by example for other people. We are supporting and encouraging other people as like the people that we coach, and then just each other, like as friends and as coaches in general. So I definitely see that. That's a good thing that you love about yourself for sure. So what is something that martial arts has taught you about yourself?
So mostly just being humble. I mean, so that's, it teaches you a humble aspect. It's the thing about it is if you have a great coach, that's where, I take a lot of my coaching from a lot of my martial arts instructors. Mm-hmm. And if you got too much of a big head, too much of an ego, in martial arts, they would give you a nice smack. They put you in your place a little bit. That's where I have a hard time with like some martial arts rather than others. I was never a big fan of boxing because it doesn't have that. So that's why you get a lot of boxers with bad attitudes because all they got is a coach. Coach isn't really going to put them in their place. They'll just stop them from training. So it's not really. They aren't good teachers, life teachers. Some of them are. I've met some great ones, but that's where I have a problem with that. There's a lot of other martial arts like jiu-jitsu and capoeira and karate, if anything like that, My instructor, if, I got too rough with somebody or was getting out of hand or anything like that, or got an ego a little bit, he put you in your place.
That's cool. So you think that there's a just different philosophy with like boxing as opposed to other types of martial arts, or like the end goal is different?
Yes. So, I mean, it's... there's a lot of there's a difference between martial artists and fighters. So, in some martial arts, they're for fighting. Boxing doesn't so much teach you a martial art; it teaches you how to fight. There's no defense. I'm just gonna go in there and start swinging. I've got a little bit where I can take a punch, but not really other than that. They teach you something. Where if I can take one and give one, I'm gonna do that. It's kind of a funky thing for me, so that's why I prefer just like an actual martial art, such as karate. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is really good about that. A lot of you'll see a lot of fighters that are getting in that are super humble. In Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, because you're the guy leading is a black belt who's been around for ages. Who's done the sport a long time, and if you start getting out of hand, start roughing people up, they'll teach you a lesson.
Is Jiu-Jitsu mostly floor work?
No, Jiu-Jitsu is actually more grappling. So it's more, I'm going to control you, I'm going to grab your arm and twist it. I'm going to take your collar and I'm going to choke you out, blocking off your carotids. It's a form of wrestling, but it's more about the submission. So it was designed by the Gracies. I'm so drawing a blank, and I know somebody's probably going to hate me for this. I'm totally drawing a blank on the father, and he was a very small guy. He was not a big guy. And so he developed this sport of martial art, or this Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, because guys would wrestle him, and they'd put him on his back. So he developed Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to actually fight off his back and submit guys. So it's a very good martial art if you're a smaller person or something like that, because, if I get on top of you and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you can break my arm, you can choke me out, you can do all kinds of stuff off your back. So it's a very good martial art. I love Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for that reason. So
it sounds like, is it like a lot about technique and exerting like as least amount of energy as possible and just going like with the flow of things, trying to maybe use other people's energy to like redirect it back at them?
Pretty much a little bit like that, and also, you're using as little energy as possible. So it's, you can throw up and, you can wrap your legs around their head, and so you're actually choking them out with their own arm and their legs, and it's actually taking little force from you. Got it. So you're just hitting the right points, so you're mostly blocking off the carotids, which is a blood choke. Most people think of an air choke. So you're actually going for the carotids, which puts them out within, 30 seconds to a minute.
So can you bring somebody to submission without hurting them if you're like good at what you do?
Oh yeah. So we have this thing. So the great thing about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is you can actually wrestle each other, and there's a term that we call the tap. So if somebody gets you in a submission, if they locked out your arm or it's twisted in a funky position, it doesn't feel good, you just give them a tap. That is a submission. You won. either we start all over, or that's you can actually do that without hurting somebody.
Cool.
So once you feel like you're about to go out or anything, and they got you in a bad choke, and you're like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
So
how long do you have to train for you to be a contender in anything?
You can really start off right off the bat.
Really?
So as a white belt, when I first started out in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I was doing a tournament every 3 months.
Wow.
Yeah. Florida's, lots of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournaments going all the time. And so I was able to just go from tournament to tournament to tournament to tournament. So my progression's a little slower now because I can only get to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu twice a week. Mm-hmm. So I'm not progressing as fast as I'd like to, but it's one of those things that's gone by the wayside since CrossFit and the distance.
Mm-hmm. What's your take on like MMA fighting, street fighting, and that whole thing?
So MMA fighting is good. I mean, it's a great sport. There's a lot that can go along with it, and a lot that not can go along with it. There's a lot of the politics that I don't really believe in. I think it's a great sport in itself, and they do a really good job with the fighters. That's the main thing is, I believe in safety and everything like that, and the fact that, you get knocked out once, there's no 8 count, there's no nothing like that, fight's over. You get choked out, arms broken, fight's over. It's very good for the fighters. You get a lot of different attitudes in the ring, in the cage, but, you kind of just go with it. My one fight in the cage, I got choked out in the first round by a guillotine choke, which is, so I tried to take him down, and he wrapped his arm around my neck here and just kind of went down with me and pulled it tight.
Did you go out?
I think so. I don't remember the next 20 seconds after.
That's a yes.
That would be a yes, yeah. I fought through it. I tried, but it was a cool experience. Mm-hmm. It's the one thing about MMA fighting. There's a lot of people. It's kind of what I call a young man's game. Mm. There's a lot of older fighters that still can rock it. I mean, but it's a very much a young man's game. It's if you're older and wanting to learn jiu-jitsu and everything, you can go to jiu-jitsu tournaments and do great. And everything like that. But when it comes to MMA fighting, because it's such a broad aspect, mm-hmm. it's almost like CrossFit. The younger you are, the more of a chance you have of doing well.
Right.
It's the same thing in MMA.
So do you think that there's like a way, though, like in CrossFit, how we scale things, like maybe if we need to whenever we are older or get older, but we still want to continue to train, is it something that you can do later, maybe not in a competition level, but any different martial arts that you can do later on into your older years?
Oh, yeah. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is one of them.
Okay.
There's been people doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in their 70s, 80s, and even 90s.
Cool. And it's probably good for them, right?
Oh, yeah. It teaches you great flexibility, and, they're able to do movements, And you when you're with your opponent and everything like that, and you're in a gym and everything, you have a mutual respect. Mm. I've got an older gentleman in there. I'm not going to go completely hard and try to crush him or anything like that. I'm going to let him play. We're gonna more like doing a flow. Mm-hmm. I understand his game. He's going to understand because it's a chess match. I'm going to move here to try and see if I can get him to do this to try and catch him. If he not, he might do this, and I might realize that I have an opening here, and he might go for that opening. So it's a big chess match that goes on while you're on the ground.
Got it. A lot of offense, it sounds like.
There is. So it's pretty much like it's mainly a lot of offense where you're trying to submit your opponent or flip them over. So if you're on the ground and you don't want to be there, you can actually reverse them, and you're trying to do that. Because you actually get points for top positions still, even like in wrestling.
Cool.
So
sweet. So, what is something that martial arts has taught you about people? Maybe people specifically, or people in general.
Everybody's a little different. You're gonna meet. That's the nice thing about martial arts is you're gonna meet everybody from all walks of life. Mm. You're gonna meet. I mean, that's. It's kind of funny because it's like back in Florida it was kind of cool because then you'd have, a lot of officers that I knew that would train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and then we'd have a couple of the gangbangers that would come in. And you knew because they had the tats, but there was a mutual respect.
Who won?
I didn't really pay attention. I wasn't worried about it. And it's, but there was mutual respect inside the dojo.
That's cool.
You know, that's you know, there wasn't, you know, and that's because of the coach. And it's like when you come in here and you put your gi on, which is the lapel that they wear, you know, it's everything changes. You know, everybody looks the same. It's kind of nice because like you really don't know anybody's walk of life because they're not wearing regular clothes or anything like that. You're just you kind of go off of, you know, what there is, and you can kind of get to know each other a little bit. But you meet all different people from walks of life. There's, you know, martial arts can do that really well.
That's cool. So it seems like you're all on the same level, you know, where you all, and like you said about having a coach that kind of sets the pace for everything, you know, like great leadership, I'm sure that can go a long way.
Oh, yeah.
So that's really awesome. Can you tell me a little bit about how you see the difference between martial arts and violence, or how maybe we can start talking about that and changing it from being more of like a sport, right, or a practice or whatnot, something that serves you as opposed to something that is just to hurt somebody else. Like, where is that line drawn?
So mostly it's not drawn by martial artists. So most of the time, if you're going to get mugged, if you're going to get any, you know, somebody's going to attack you, most of the time they're not a martial artist. There's a few exceptions every once in a while. There's a couple bad apples, you know, but generally most of the time it's not. So that's where a lot of people who think they can fight because they saw it on UFC, mixed martial arts on the TV, you know, they think, okay, I could do that. You know, and then it's, you know, then they want to fight somebody, and they think
just
they
get scrappy.
Yeah, and so it causes a lot of that. And you'll see a lot of fighters and stuff like that have to get, because people will see fighters and they're intoxicated and they want to throw down with a fighter, and it usually does not end well for them.
Yeah, right. You're like, I kind of got a different approach than you there, buddy.
There was one video I saw. There's a UFC fighter named Matt Serra, and somebody decided to pick a fight with him in a restaurant, and it did not go well for that guy.
That's funny. Like, who thinks of that stuff? I think, it's probably the intoxicated brain, for sure.
Yeah.
Thinking you could take it on. Or maybe you just wanted to get your ass kicked. You never know.
You never know. It's,
Sometimes that's what it is. So, where do you think that martial arts, where do you think the place for it is in this world?
It's martial arts has a place because it's, you know, I think everybody should learn martial arts of some kind. You know, I think it's a skill that everybody should know. You know, it's, you know, how to be able to defend yourself, and then you have a mutual respect. You know, that's the thing about it is, you know, if you walk around like, okay, do they know what I know? Then you get a second guess of, oh, maybe I shouldn't do that. You know, it's, you know, if, you know, it's kind of like the old term, an armed society is a polite society. It's the same thing with martial arts. If everybody knew martial arts, you know, I think there would be a lot less violence.
The world would be different. And that's so interesting because it's like the opposite of like how we're taught or how we think, or just the general misconception about martial arts in general. And like you were saying, and I think you said it very well, that the violence that we're talking about, it doesn't even come from martial artists.
No.
It comes from just normal people that want to get scrappy or whatever. So that's a really important thing to consider for sure. So you had mentioned a couple things, being humble. What other values does martial arts teach, or that you can gain, do you think?
So there's a lot of discipline aspect in it. I mean, so that's, you know, even just going to a regular gym, you just kind of have the discipline to go in there, you know, even though, you know, you might feel like you're sore or anything like that. There's just a discipline aspect, and you use it everywhere. You know, it gives you a sense of awareness as well, you know, that you use in martial arts. You know, that's the thing about it, is you're aware of what your opponent's doing and everything like that. It makes you aware all the time. So it's, you know, you learn a sense of awareness, you know, even just in daily life. You pick up on things as you walk through a room. You know, you go into a building, you can recognize your exits and what kind of people are in there and just your surroundings. You know, you pick up a certain awareness.
That's interesting. That's almost like, sounds like just like mindfulness, you know, like seeing, because we get so caught up in here, or maybe even with technology or things that are just like right in front of us and we're not paying attention to all these things that are going on around us. So that's a really good thing for sure to teach, and I agree. It sounds like it's something that everybody should learn some of for sure. So you do self-defense classes at CrossFit Cortez, and I'm curious to know why that is important to you, or what you love about it, or what your goal is with teaching people self-defense.
So I enjoy teaching self-defense. Pretty much, like I said, everybody should know some of it. And you don't have to be a black belt to be able to defend yourself. You just can have a few skills, and that can save your life. Because your opponent is usually not trained. So even that little bit of training that you get, I'm trying to teach in my classes, that can really save someone's life. So that's huge for me. I want people to have that skills. I think everybody deserves that. For sure.
That's empowering too, especially like as a woman, because I know that men are naturally stronger than me. I could probably take some of them out there, but just to know that, like you said, the people that the criminals or the gangbangers or whatever, the people that are trying to take advantage of you or hurt you, they don't have the skills, and if they did, then they might have learned a thing or two about like self-discipline and all those things and respect and whatnot.
Yeah, so that's usually where my self-defense comes in, is I do a little bit of everything, and I'm not training you to be a fighter. I'm training you to figure out what's going on and get out of there. If you can't get out of there, then you gotta know a few attacks. So that's where the situation changes. But mainly it's I'm gonna try to get out of here. If I can't get out of here, do a few attacks, then get out of here.
Try to just get out safely.
Exactly. That's the best thing that you can do as far as self-defense goes.
Right on. Yeah, that's cool. I need to make it to one of your classes for sure. Is there a time in your life that you're, probably multiple times, but maybe something that you could think of that has stuck in your memory that your practice has helped you or served you or gotten you through certain times in your life?
Pretty much it made it a little easier moving around. Once I found a dojo, I could, connect with people. That was kind of like easier for me than usually I moved around when I was in my schooling times. When I was, elementary school, middle school, high school, and everything like that. I wasn't even, so much connecting in school with kids. So I would go to a dojo, and there I would connect with people.
Nice.
So that really helped me. Mainly just getting a lot of frustration out too. I was kind of an angry child.
It was something your parents got you into?
Yeah. So my dad my dad knew that we would kind of be moving around, being in the military and everything like that, and so he knew that we were going to be going to dangerous areas. So, and it was me and my little brother, and so he knew that at least one of us got into martial arts, we were okay. So that was his philosophy. And so, yeah, he got me into karate when I was 8 years old.
Cool.
So,
and you just loved it, right?
Yeah. It was freaking phenomenal. I just loved it. And so I stuck with it. And then when we moved around, I had to find new dojos or even odd ones. So, one of my favorites and karate instructor I used to hang out with was, his name was, all I knew was his first name, Garrison. And he was actually a black belt in karate. And he was very aggressive. And he was a no bullshit kind of person. He actually worked with me as a nurse. And so then me and him would go to the gym and actually spar together all the time.
Oh, nice.
And so he taught me more of my karate than anything, because he wasn't so much into the form stuff. He was more into, we're going to spar, you're going to learn to block, we're going to bounce off each other, we're going to play attack and defend, stuff like that.
He was applicable.
Yeah. He was very aggressive. I loved training with him.
That's awesome. We all need a friend like that can sneak up on you and try to kick your ass, right?
Oh, yeah.
see what you could do. I'm just curious, are there different maybe methodology concepts or anything like that you have learned or have noticed that kind of cross over from doing martial arts to CrossFit?
Yeah. So, the flexibility has definitely helped. Mobility and doing all that, I take that from my martial arts. It's really kind of helped me into CrossFit. So especially I can use capoeira is a lot of handstands and a lot of gymnastics. So I brought that into the gymnastics area of CrossFit.
Cool.
I didn't do so much weightlifting in martial arts, but definitely the metabolic, because you're working on endurance all the time. So it's when you're, especially in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, when you've got, a 6-minute match with somebody and you're going and going and going, and it's very tough, and they put all their weight on you and they're trying to crush you, and it can be very exhausting.
I could see that for sure. Has CrossFit training helped you in your martial arts, or do you think that just training martial arts helps you by itself?
It's kind of a give and take. So, I definitely think CrossFit has helped me in my martial art, but because of the skill aspect, my skill is lacking. So because I've focused on CrossFit so much, I'm only going 2 days a week, my skill is lacking. Okay. So my fitness level has gone up, which has helped me, but my skill level has gone down. So even guys who are not as fit as me are still getting me on the mat.
Because you can't do it all.
I can't do it all. I know.
The Superman over here can't do it all. What a bummer. So tell me about maybe a favorite instructor or coach that you had, or a sensei that you had, and why they were your favorite, or what they had taught you, or what you had learned from them.
So let's see here. Pedro Lima.
Pedro
Lima, yes. He was a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu instructor, one of the nicest guys in the world. And, me and him kind of had the same attitude about martial arts. There was a lot of guys, there's that attitude that I'm going to come in and I'm going to kill my opponent and I just want to crush you and everything like that. And I would come in and be like, hey, this is going to be fun. Let's do this. Yeah, I would even have that attitude going to tournaments. He kind of had the same attitude as me. He was kind of real relaxed, real laid back and everything like that. And, he was just a phenomenal guy. Let's see here. Paikon was my capoeira instructor. He's great. Super cool guy. Super just, he was just liked to talk. He was very, just liked to talk, liked to make noises. He was very colorful guy. That's all I can use to describe him. He was so much fun to hang out with. Let's see here. Garrison was great. That's mostly, I remember, it's a lot of those instructors. Edgar Dutra was phenomenal. He was, it was great because, so Edgar Dutra and Pedro Lima were co-instructors. Edgar Dutra, he owned the gym, and then Pedro Lima was one of his coaches, kind of like me and you are with Ellen. Mm-hmm. And so, he definitely had more of the soldier attitude. He was a big guy, huge, 6'4", 250 pounds, huge guy. And he was one of those that was kind of like, no mercy, kind of like that, And it was cool to work with them both. They were very cool. Like I said, I miss a lot of my gyms from Florida. That's where I remember a lot of them. Moving around from, I don't really remember my karate instructor in California. I don't really remember my boxing instructor.
Were you just young, or do you think that maybe they didn't have as much impact on you as other instructors?
I don't think it was just as much impact. I think it was just, I just kind of showed up. I wanted to, I was still a kid. Right. So remembering the instructor's name, all it was sensei. Ah. So, there wasn't anything else with that. I remember what they looked like in my head, but, other than, sensei or instructor, that was pretty much it. Coach,
Are there attributes from what you learned from your instructors that you took on for your style of teaching, or different things that you have adopted for you and your style?
I do. I mean, I definitely have a more, I like that fun style. I want to have relaxed, I want to be welcoming. And so I try to play that, I enjoyed those instructors who were like that. They were like that. They weren't so much, aggressive or anything like that. I want people to have fun. This is what it's all about. We're learning something, but we're having fun at the same time, and we're having a good time, and we're still trying to do our thing.
Yeah. Very cool. I like that. And that carries over you as the CrossFit coach, too. I mean, we kind of all are like that, and we strive to be like that, but I can totally see how that carries over with you in the gym as well. So what real-life applications do you think martial arts has? I mean, we could talk about in a dangerous situation, but can you think of maybe other ways that it carries over into life that maybe we might not know?
It gives you a little bit of a confidence walking around. I mean, so that's, it helps you feel confident, like, okay, I'm okay. No matter where I'm at, I feel okay. Whether I go into a crowded area or, someplace I'm going to feel uncomfortable, it gives you a little bit of a confidence that you're like, okay, I'm okay. So then you just carry that every day.
That's cool. And you probably, it sounds like maybe carry over to not only that, but the people around you, and knowing that if something came up, you would be able to protect people around you, or you would be able to do something in that situation if need be.
Yeah. So when I was living in South America, I went to a missionary school, and so I hung out with all my missionary friends. Nobody really knew I was a military brat or my dad worked for the U.S. Embassy, and so like all my friends, everybody, they felt comfortable, and their parents felt comfortable, even though we go wander around Quito, Ecuador, which wasn't the greatest thing ever. But as long as their parents knew they were with me, they were okay. You know, so it's, you know, I carried that. I go, you know, I explained to them, I understand martial arts. You know, we're gonna go do this and everything. And like, oh yeah, you know, they had no problem.
That's awesome. How does that carry over? I'm just curious. In your like personal life, like if you go, you know, like out at night or something, maybe go party or something. Do you feel like that has maybe like always kept you sober-minded in some way, or maybe like stopped you from taking anything too far because you've just learned to kind of always be aware?
It does. So I don't chase the dragon at all. So I have a couple drinks, I get a good buzz, I'm good. I can actually just stop because I know I want to be able to be aware of my surroundings. I don't. Yeah. There's a lot of people I know. They're just like, oh, I feel good right now. If I have another one, I'll feel even better. If I have another one, I'll feel even better.
Yeah.
And then they're just obliterated.
Right.
And so there's, you know, with that discipline, you know, it's like I can come, I can have a few drinks, I'm done. You know, every once in a while I go out and, you know, I'll have a couple drinks. I can still drive home at the end of the night. You know, I come in, have a few drinks, drive home at the end of the night.
Yeah, which is just being able to do that. I know for me, I've had my journey with sobriety and non-alcohol and stuff. And you just talking about that like really resonates with me. Just having the ability. Not that some things are going to go wrong, not living your life in fear, you know, not waiting for something to go wrong, but just knowing that, you know, I can't tell you how many situations I've been in where, holy crap, if something went down, there's not a single person that would be able to handle the situation. So not even having the ability to handle a situation or react accordingly, but then also not having the training or the self-discipline or whatever it is to be able to actually do something about it. So I like that idea. I'm definitely going to keep you around. But that's good. Like, and I think that that's a good thing to go off of. And I think that that part of self-discipline isn't just like you doing you, but it's like, what can you do to be better for your community, for the people that are around you?
Yeah.
You know?
I'm definitely, you know, had to jump in a few times and everything like that in a couple of bar situations and drag people out. And, it's so, I mostly, I was pretty secretive about my martial arts for a long time. I wasn't one of those that really projected. There's a lot of guys I know, they wear the MMA shirts and everything like that, and they're, they want to tell everybody, kind of like CrossFit. We want to tell everybody. Yeah. And so, I kept it to myself, and it wasn't one of those things that people knew. And it was just one of those, I don't know if it was a survival thing or whatnot, but I just didn't want people knowing that, because then I believe it kind of makes you a target at the same time, being different. So I had a couple of buddies who were bouncers, and they were huge, and they would actually come and get me if I was there.
Nice.
Because then, I didn't really hang out with too many guys that did martial arts. Uh-huh. These were like co-workers in the hospital I worked at. So their extra side gig was being bouncers because they were really big, So if they knew I was there, they'd come and get me, and they'd be like, "This is the one you need to worry about right here. We'll just drag you out of here because we're big. This guy can mess you up."
Right on. That's cool though. Yeah, sometimes it's not even about how big you are. I mean, we see that in CrossFit a lot too. It's like, you might be able to lift more than a smaller person, but how high can you jump? How fast are you? How long can you go? So it's cool to be able to have like multiple things that you're well at instead of just like so much of one thing. Whether that's like we learn the marathon runner as opposed to the big jacked up bodybuilder, they can only do what they do, and we strive to be able to do a bunch of things well, and it seems like martial arts kind of goes along with that too, whether it's certain moves or endurance or even just like your mind state or how it affects you in your everyday life. Maybe, it seems like that's kind of a big part of all of this, or part of your training or part of your practice, right?
Yeah. So, martial arts and CrossFit are pretty much the same thing because they both give you a level of fitness to do other things. So that was really nice. You know, even, I mean, it's, you know, I would try out an endurance race. I threw Highland Games down in Florida when I was down there. It gave you the opportunity to feel like you could actually try something else just for fun.
Yeah.
So it works both the same way like that.
That's cool. I love stuff like that, you know, and it's like, you can have your sport or your whatever it is or your hobby or other things that you enjoy, but you gotta train somehow. Like, we all should have some type of practice, whether it's in the gym or martial arts or whatever it is, you know, to keep us healthy and active and moving. So it's cool that it kind of like goes across like that and carries over. So I'm gonna kind of... Oh, I do have one question for you. If you could do more training in martial arts, what would you do? What would be the next step?
The next step? Oh my gosh. The martial art that I would love to try is actually Eskrima and Kali, which is actually a Filipino martial art. I mean, it's more of a weapon martial art, which is something I haven't truly done, and so that's why that one really sticks out to me.
Like ninja stuff?
Not so much ninja stuff, it's more of stick fighting and knives.
Oh.
Yeah. So it's a very brutal martial art, and so...
What's that called again?
Eskrima and Kali.
Wow.
Yeah, and so it was designed down in the Philippines, and so they do a lot of stick fighting, so you're pretty much going back and forth with a stick until you can either disable your opponent or get an opportunity to strike them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a very fast pace. You're mostly just standing there straight up and just trying to work with a stick, and then also in the knife fighting, you're learning to move their hand out of the way if they have a knife and actually attack them.
Wow.
So, yeah, that's one that's been on my list that I've always wanted to try.
Next level. Is that very common, or are there a few places that practice that?
No, it's not super common. There's a few places around that'll teach that, but a lot of... Unfortunately, it's like, you know, there's big cities have the dojos. You know, it's, you know, you get the students, you know, so that's where you go where the people are. You know,
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in our little town of Colorado,
Not many people out there.
Not many people here.
We're just a couple. There's not that much more. So that's awesome. I want to know more about that whenever you find a way, find the people to do the thing. Let me know how that goes. So you are a firefighter for the Ute Mountain tribe, right? Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, so I'm a firefighter paramedic.
Paramedic because that is such a rural area that the firefighter and the EMS, or paramedic, it's all, you do both things, right?
So, yes, and that's actually very common across the United States.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's not an unusual thing. So it's a combination department is, what I call it.
Mm-hmm.
So even back in Florida, that's what they actually did a county department, and that covered EMS and fire.
Oh, okay.
It's usually in some other rural areas like here. It's, you've got Southwest Ambulance and Cortez Fire. Right. You're going to have that in some of the other areas and even in some are big cities. But from what I'm used to in Florida, it's usually county departments that run a combination department. And so that's why I was drawn to the combination department on the Ute Mountain Reservation. Cool.
So how has your practice impacted your occupation in a positive way, negative way, anything?
It's definitely helped. I mean, definitely dealing with some loose patients, that really helps.
I'm down.
No, it's you learn to control as well. I mean, so there's when you've got somebody who's irate and everything like that, you can, it's uncomfortable, but you're not going to hurt them.
Oh.
So, main one that I use is Aikido, so it's more with wrist locks. And so I grab their wrist and I can hold their shoulder and, it makes them uncomfortable. So they go, okay, I'll stop.
What do people that don't have your experience do?
There's a lot of risk. There's a lot of risk.
Wow.
You'll hear about EMS and fire departments getting attacked all the time.
Wow.
Yeah,
Do you ever have a chance to teach any of your, fellow...
I'm working on that. I'm trying to work on a practice for EMS. There's a lot of... because people don't think we're in a scary situation or a dangerous situation. It's been kind of delayed. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of training for officers and fire departments, but not so much for EMS.
Mm-hmm. Which is crazy. Or the first responders to the whole thing.
And so it's we're kind of the black sheep of the first responder group.
Yeah.
So we're just now getting into a lot of defense and awareness inside the back of an ambulance because it's just us.
Mm.
And so, yeah, there's usually, especially I know a lot of women in EMS, they'll get a big guy back there and they'll try to intimidate them because they're stuck inside this box together.
Mm.
And so it gets a little hairy sometimes. So I would love to do, work on a training. And there's been a couple practices going around, especially, for awareness for EMS.
That's cool. Helpful, in so many different ways. And like you said, if you can exert as minimal energy and maybe not injure the other person, but still get them to stand down or submit or whatever it is, or escalate the situation.
Yeah.
It sounds like that's important.
Yeah, and it gives you a little bit of a confidence going into certain scenes, which, I think about it going into a lot of my fire guides and everything like that, where EMS shows up, EMS is right on the patient, and fire stands about 6 feet away. So, between the time it takes that patient to hit you and fire to jump on them is a big difference.
So is it like who's the one that takes them down, or is it?
It's usually EMS or fire if they can, but they're not going to get on it quick enough.
Mm.
So I've had patients try to bite me out of the blue, just out of yeah. And so
how do you get out of that one?
Oh, it was luckily I was wearing my bunker gear,
oh.
And so they tried to bite me in the leg, and so they actually got a hold of my bunker gear before I even realized what was going on, and so I had to pin them down to the ground.
Wow.
Yeah. And
crazy.
Yeah.
Getting bitten by people.
Oh, that's my biggest pet peeve. He about got punched. That's like my biggest thing is if you bite me, I will probably punch you.
That's funny. Out of everything that somebody could do, don't bite Thomas.
Yeah.
Like, you will unleash the Hulk. That is funny.
Yep.
I'll keep that in mind. How has working in EMS changed has it changed your view on the world? I know that seems like you've been doing it for a long time. You're not very old. So has it changed your view on the world?
It does. It's you got to keep kind of a good mindset, because it can take you down a very dark rabbit hole very fast because you see a very ugly side of the world all the time. You're not getting called to good patients. Everybody's seeing you in their worst part of their life.
Yeah.
So either it's trauma or it's medical. It's the medical is usually not so bad. That's the thing about it is, that's your job, and everything like that. But when you're running trauma, assaults, anything like that, you see a very dark side of the world. You see what people can really do to each other, and it's very dark. And so keeping a positive mindset has really helped, and I think I take that a lot from my martial arts as well. And so there's, I try to, have guys talk it out or anything like that, because there's a lot of guys that don't. There's a lot of type A personality in the fire and EMS department, so they don't really want to talk about anything. So it's you got to have your own outlet, and a lot of them don't, unfortunately.
That's tough too. I think that the world at large, and it's like, and maybe like, and kudos to you for being that person, and even just showing the way. Sometimes that's all we could do. It's just like lead by example, even if people have their own way that they process things, or they're not comfortable with that aspect of the job, having to decompress or having to process things.
Yeah.
But it's good that you are that way, and so that you can at least be an example.
I think that's probably what's held me on for as long as I have, doing it 15 years. So
other people, for sure.
So it's been a good stint. I enjoy it. Even though you see a dark side, you feel like you kind of make a difference. You made a difference in that person's life. They may not remember you. They may not like you at the time. But, you somewhat made a difference there. Yeah, I mean, you're not going to prevent anything from happening.
Yeah.
The only thing you can do, unfortunately, is you're kind of like, I got to fix this right now, what I've got.
Up.
And it's, there's, you meet a lot of different people from walks of life, and it's, some people think you treat them differently or anything like that. And I always tell people, my job is to take care of the body. I don't care if you're white, black, brown, anything like that. I have a body on my hands, and that's what I'm taking care of. I do it all the same, always, no matter what. Whether it's the medical that I got to follow my protocols, or the trauma and I got to follow those protocols. I have a body, and that's my job. So I don't hold anything different. And I think that's there is that stigma a little bit.
That you treat different people differently.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a stigma in there with some people. Some people who haven't seen as many cultures or anything like that.
Right.
It's I don't know if it exactly happens everywhere or certain areas or certain people. So some people get, unfortunately, we have a dark sense of humor, which carries on to that sometimes. So it's not exactly the best humor or anything like that, but I think it's some people's coping. And so unfortunately it carries over and they get burnt out, and then when they're seeing the same ethnicity or anything like that for the same thing, it carries over, and
they're creating stories in their head about certain people being a certain type of way. I can see how that impacts. I mean, we see it at the world at large with like racial profiling and whatnot. And I mean, how that happens, and maybe it's not just like the way you were raised or the way that you think, but maybe it is exactly what you're saying, like coping just from people like seeing the same thing over and over again. I'm not saying one way or the other about any of that, but that's just interesting, like a different way to think about things with the people that are the first responders, or maybe they're the police officers or what have you, just like how that happens, makes sense.
It's, we try to make sure that everybody has a positive attitude, and, we're going to take care of each other, it's a brotherhood, it's, we want to take care of each other. Usually, I look after my guys look after me. We're making sure we're watching each other's back, because, there's all kinds of stuff that could happen. There's a lot of, I've had my ambulance shot at before.
Wow. Dang.
Yeah, so it's, sometimes you're just like, oh boy, it's, here we go.
That just happened. What are the things that, how do you take care of yourself to handle the stressors of your job?
Pretty much exercise, eating right. I try to keep a positive attitude and just, leave it at the station. I don't want to take it home with me or anything like that. I try to work everything out. There's been a couple calls where it's like, this is going to bug me for a few days. I gotta, process this or something like that. It's,
Did you learn that? Is that something that you learned over time, or did it wreck you at the beginning whenever you first started?
It actually did. It actually did wreck me at the very beginning. So I'm huge. So like back in Florida, I used to do a lot of precepting for students. And so, when you start school, they kind of give you like this small chapter in the very beginning about, processing and, this is what you're going to see, this is how we'll handle it. Sometimes you'll get counseling that'll show up to the fire department that'll try and help you out. And there's a very small section of it. And, it doesn't really hit hard until you experience that. And so a lot of things that I will relay to my students is, in this job, there will be a day where you question your career. There is a day that one day you run that call and it makes you question your career. And everybody has it. It may be your very first day. It may be 20 years down the road. But everybody has that day. That's why there's, the average is usually like, 5 years in the department. Because they'll get that call and then can't do it. Yeah, for me it was like really immediately. And so usually sometimes, if depending on, I was with the hospital, so they were really good to me, and they gave me a decision day. So they'll actually give you 72 hours off to make a decision.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's, I took that 72 hours, chilled out, and then came back and I was like, okay, I'm good. And it's usually the most unfathomable thing that you're just like not thinking of. And so, dealing with youth suicide is one of the things that I've seen a lot of for some reason in my career. So it's even in Florida to here, it's one of those things that I've dealt with a lot.
Do you feel just helpless in that, or do you feel like you're actually helping?
It depends on the situation. So sometimes I've saved a couple, and sometimes I haven't, and there's nothing you can do.
Wow. Have you been around like people that you've worked with that it just kind of like they never came back from stuff like that?
Oh yeah.
I don't know if it's something that you have to be a certain type of person to do this job, or if you learn how to be that person, or if this job can like change you for better or for worse.
So it's usually there's, you can recognize people as you're coming in, that are like, okay, you're going to last. There's, you realize that when you talk to them.
Mm.
It takes a certain personality, a certain attitude, and everything like that. That's what we call it the type A personality. You want to be the hero.
Mm.
So usually they'll do okay until they get that one call, and I've seen a lot of them go out. And so it gets tricky sometimes. It's not. One guy came in one time in my EMT school back in Florida. He lasted the first month, and so we do this thing called clinicals, which are pretty much going and watching somebody in training, so to do the skills. And he saw somebody else's blood for the first time, really, and he went out.
Oh.
Passed out.
Dang.
Yeah, he didn't know. He'd seen his own blood, and he's like, "Oh, I'm okay with my own."
Didn't know that.
But didn't know that he was, somebody else's, and he passed out. And so, yeah, he was done. That was the end of his EMS career.
Man, that's crazy. It blows my mind that people like you can have jobs like that and still function. I know that, and you honor it too. It's not like you go home and drink every night to deal with what you just saw, like you integrate it into your life. It sounds like you allow it to make you a better person. You continuously like open up your heart to love people more or to help people more, and it's almost like it fuels you, right? Like you feel like you're actually doing good in the world. So that's a really cool thing about all of EMS. I'm just like, wow, people do that? Like, oh yeah, there's people out there that this is actually what they do. I don't think I could personally do it.
Yeah.
But,
and I mean, there's a lot of people that, that's their coping mechanism is to come home and drink. There's still those out there that do that. Some of them have unhealthy coping mechanisms, and some like me who have healthy ones. And we all kind of have our
life.
Yeah, it's your walk of life. It's how you can get through your day. It's I think that's why we kind of have like a high suicide rate in first responders.
Where's that line? You think if you're doing something to help somebody else, but then it just totally wrecks you, or you're not able to really function in your personal life, then are you really helping? Like, who are you helping? Are you hurting yourself, self-sabotage for the sake of helping somebody else? Like, where's that line?
Well, that's a very fine line, so it's, you're, some people can make that separation between the two, and some people can't. They're just like, I'm going to help this person no matter what, and some of them don't realize how much it crushes them until further on. Some people are just able to cope and cope and cope and cope and cope, and then they crash.
Do you see that a lot?
Not so much. It's a lot of the guys who've been around a long time. You see them just kind of like
burnt out.
And you see a lot of obesity in EMS as well. And so I think that's a lot of it goes along there too. Unfortunately, we spend a lot of time sitting in a truck, eating and drinking, and that's I've known a lot of guys who are really big, and it's that's their coping mechanism,
right?
And we all kind of have our different addictions. There's something that we got. Luckily mine's fitness. That's my addiction to help me. But there's a lot of guys who just go down to certain rabbit holes, and it ends bad.
Is it a high stress job? Like, do you wait like for your nervous system to kick on for you to be able to react to the situation, or is it more like, all right, I gotta like chill out for a second and I gotta like focus on the situation, keep my heart rate down? Like, how does that work? Maybe, I don't know if you can just talk about you or if you know how other people are.
So yeah, everybody's different. I mean, that's even in EMS, everybody's different. Everybody has their own ways. There's some people that are just like, we're going to go and just high adrenaline the whole time. I mean, they almost look like they're panicking in their seat, just shaking, ready to go all the time.
But it serves them, right? Like they're able to do.
I mean, there's some great paramedics that do that, and then there's some that kind of chill out, or, we'll get there. Our safety is more important. Our safety always comes first. So we're going to roll up, look at the scene, make sure we're safe and everything like that. And there's some people who like that adrenaline rush. And they flip on that lights and sirens and they're going 90 miles an hour, So it's different for everybody. I feel a little bit more relaxed. Like I can kind of just hop in the ambulance, we'll get there depending on what dispatch tells me. If it sounds like it's a car wreck with possible severe injuries, I'm going to be cruising pretty good. I'm going to be hauling. But, you get that kind of, it depends on how your dispatcher sounds. You can listen to that, their tone of voice, if they're excited, that gives you a feel of what what you're going to.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you're just getting like, okay, we're gonna go to this person. I've seen it all. We had one person call 911 for an ingrown toenail.
No.
Yeah.
Get right over there.
They get right over there. It happens. That's one of the things is you're not always running those high stress situations.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that's the common cold. Flu season sucks.
Yeah.
Flu season, I get lots of calls. My call volume goes up because it's people coming that want to go to the hospital for the flu, and it's like,
give me a ride.
Yeah, give me a ride. And I'm like, a lot of people, I've adapted this philosophy because there's a lot of people who get like really mad about those calls, and I've known some of them that are just like really mad. And so my job, this is my job. You call, I haul.
That's a good thing to look at.
Yeah,
sure.
and I try to teach that to people. It's like, I want you to, that's what we're paid to do.
Yeah, this is your job.
This is my job. This I'm going to take the good with the bad.
Yeah,
that's
At least it is that. It's an easy one.
Yeah,
right? That makes sense.
So, fire's a little bit of the same way. We get called for a lot of false alarms and everything. We're thinking we're going to go to a fire, start the fire.
Right.
False alarm. Okay.
No fire.
No fire.
She's all ready for that. That's funny.
But yeah, I mean, it's, some people ride the adrenaline, and they are just adrenaline.
I feel like I would be one of those, and I'd have a heart attack the first day, because it's kind of what fuels me sometimes.
Yeah, and I have a very, even in the back of the ambulance, I work with the same group of guys all the time. We have our shift, and it's the same group of guys, and they can recognize me when things are going bad, because you can have a situation change very quickly. And with almost 15 years of experience, I can look at someone and realize something going, and my partners know. I go, oh shit, and they all look at me and go, what's going on? I'm like, this is what's about to happen. We need to get going.
All right, turn it on. Get it.
Let's get it. We gotta go.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's good though that you have that camaraderie too, or that brotherhood. You said. I think that's important, especially in any type of like high stress situation or dangerous situation. Having people that you could rely on, or knowing the workflow or how people work or what things to look out for sure. Like it's a collective. So I'm grateful that you're not just out there by yourself trying to save the world. So that's good.
Yeah.
I have one last question for you. I guess it's a question. Is there anything that Thomas Dunga, did I say that right?
Yep.
Anything that like you want to share, or maybe passion, purpose, something just like that speaks to you or speaks to your truth that we could just share to the world at large?
Don't be afraid to try different things. That would be it. I mean, don't be afraid to walk into that gym. Don't be afraid to walk into that dojo. Try it out, even just as simple as going to a competition. That's how I got into jiu-jitsu. I saw a jiu-jitsu tournament and said, how bad can this be? And literally no training in jiu-jitsu whatsoever, which is completely different than what I'm used to. And I got swamped. And that's when I was like, oh, I need to go to jiu-jitsu gym.
Nice. That's really good advice, too, for sure. Because we like second-guess ourselves, or like, I'm not going to fit in, or I'm going to suck, or all these things.
Yeah.
Worry about you instead of worrying about other people.
Exactly.
That's kind of what it's all about. Well, I appreciate you in multiple ways. I honor you for what you do for our community. You do have a big heart. You're a good friend to me. You're always checking up on me, and I appreciate it. I really enjoy coaching with you. I feel like you and me, we have like a lot of the same like goofiness, when we're kind of on the same level. Me and Thomas are big like reggae fans, so I appreciate that. Having you in my life has definitely fulfilled my life. So I appreciate you and honor you for what you do for the community. And also, you're a very good role model for young men. And your heart, as big as your heart is, like with the self-defense and all of that, like you don't have to do that, but you do it because you care about people and you want to try to help. So I think that's a rarity in this world. So I honor you for that, and I appreciate you for that. And I'm glad that you sat and talked with me today. I learned a bunch of stuff that I didn't know, and Thomas brought some boxing gloves and pads, so hopefully I can get down with some kickboxing or boxing or something. So we'll definitely have to mess around with that. But yeah, thanks for being here.
No problem. It was my pleasure.
All right. Till next time. Much love, guys. Thank you for taking the time to tune in to the Noble Cause podcast. It is a great joy and honor to be able to connect with you. If you feel this episode, or if you can think of someone that can benefit from it, share it with them. You could also leave me a review, like the Facebook page The Noble Cause, or hit me up at thenoblecausepodcast@gmail.com. I love connecting with new people, sharing ideas, and keeping the flow of conscious energy so that we may continue to be inspired, interested, and interesting. I hope this transmission has served your highest good, and until next time, much love to my people.